Hey folks, a few news stories out today, plus this thing arrived in the post. This one is from John. I don't know exactly what John has sent. John's from Ireland, and I know what team it's related to, but I'm not exactly sure what the gear is, so I'll open that in a tick. But first I'll go over some of the things that have been in the news. Andrew Mehrtens, who is a former New Zealand international commentator, South African born, interestingly, has been kind of making waves a little bit. I mean, I guess it's one of those ones where he was probably asked his opinion about something and he just gave it, rather than him deliberately trying to get himself in the headlines, I assume. But talking about cutting South Africa from Super Rugby, he mainly mentioned that the player drain from South Africa to Europe and other places doesn't do Super Rugby any good. I guess I only read kind of excerpts from what he had said in the news that was reporting it, but basically that the quality of the competition is going down without those top South African players, and that's kind of a fair point. But I mean, New Zealand has player drain as well. Australia definitely has player drain. Even the Jaguares are getting a bit of that, and the Sunwolves this season just gone. Most of the top internationals for Japan didn't play because they were getting ready for the World Cup. So it's not a thing which is unique to South Africa. And it is going to be interesting to see what develops with Super Rugby, because that broadcast deal has got 1 year left to run, and then it's getting all shifted up. The Sunwolves are going to go. And how things are formatted after that remains to be seen. By all accounts, more of the South African teams, to be honest, are looking at Europe anyway. So it may not be that you get a chance to cut the South African teams because they may already be walking out on you, basically. The time zones and the travel are a lot more South African friendly if they are playing in Europe. The season's not so much, but everything else seems to work a bit better. That being said, I mean, I would hate to lose the South African teams from Super Rugby. It's the competition that's been going since I was a fairly young man. And those trips to South Africa are always, I think, one of the main attractions that keeps guys in union rather than league, at least in New Zealand. I'm not sure about Australia so much, but I'm not sure what the pay disparity is between professional rugby and professional league players. I guess it depends what kind of level you're at, but if you're playing in the NRL, which is our major league competition, Australian-based league competition, you basically get to play in Australia and New Zealand, and that's it. Maybe the odd spot every now and again somewhere else. But if you're playing in a Super Rugby team, in all likelihood, you go into South Africa, you go to Australia, you go into either Japan or Argentina every year if you manage to get in the international side, even more. So from articles I've read in the past, that is a draw to guys, because you get to play the game you love and travel the world at the same time. So going to a World Cup, that kind of thing. I mean, I know the league has the same, but it's not quite to the same scale. But yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens, man. I'm still kind of watching the fate of Super Rugby. It seems like a competition which is, I don't want to say it's on its last legs. I know to some people it is already dead, but yeah, it's not the healthiest competition. We'll see what happens after they rejig it after the following season, the 2020 season. I feel like the last two seasons have kind of improved, as much as it was unfortunate to cut teams like the Force, the Kings, and the Cheetahs. It has seemed to be a bit more competitive in recent years. So, despite the fact the Crusaders have won it 3 times in a row, it's felt more competitive anyway, less blowouts. So yeah, Mehrtens talking about the South Africans leaving. He mentioned that Australia and New Zealand should kind of focus into getting into Asia, and that Argentina should focus kind of in the Americas, and South Africa should, I guess, do a deal with Europe kind of thing. A lot of that money in that Super Rugby deal comes from South Africa, so I think that would be an even bigger problem for the likes of New Zealand and Australia to retain players if they lost that chunk of the pie, which a lot of that broadcast revenue does come from South Africa. So that is what it is. It's one guy's opinion. Next one, more of a good news story if you're a Bristol fan. because Semi Radradra is joining them next season. He's leaving France. There was a lot of talk about him going to play rugby league, but he's going to play for Pat Lam in Bristol. So that's a pretty awesome signing. I wish the likes of my Blues here in Super Rugby could make a signing quite as impactful as that one. This guy is an absolutely world-class player. And the fact that he's going to Bristol, which is kind of an up-and-coming team rather than a team which is already there, should do them the world of good. So he will no doubt put some bums on seats because he is just a fantastic player to watch. And I think in terms of their own ambitions of getting up there with the best rugby clubs in the world, it's certainly a pretty bloody good signing to go with Semi. Kept him in rugby union. So pretty happy with that. Finish off his contract in France and then off to Bristol for the next season. So certainly a bit of good news. He's only 27, so he's still got a fair few good years left in him as well. And the last one, which I just came across on Rugby Pass's site, which I had heard nothing about until now. It's not being reported here in New Zealand at all. But South America is getting a pro rugby competition as of next year. Apparently there's a press conference about it tomorrow. But basically there's going to be a 6-team competition in 6 countries in South America. The list was 1 from Argentina, despite the fact that their top guys will all be playing for the Jaguares or in Europe. But 1 team in Argentina, 1 team in Uruguay, 1 in Brazil, 1 in Paraguay, 1 in Chile, and 1 in Colombia. So 6 teams. They're going to play from the 28th of February through to late May. It'll be mostly a round-robin competition. But interestingly, like if you thought sometimes Super Rugby gets a bit convoluted with some of their rules in the conferences and, top of the conference going ahead of the team which has got more points and all that stuff, this one's got an interesting one in that the Colombian team said they don't have the players or the finances or whatever to play week in, week out for those, from February, end of February through till May. So they're only going to play home and away against the bottom team to decide who's 5th and who's 6th. So they're only going to play 2 games. So they're accepting that they're only going to get the bottom spot. They're just going to play 2 games. So that makes it a bit of a weird format for a competition. So 5 proper teams plus 1 extra who will battle it out for the wooden spoon. But I mean, hey, I just like this one because we've seen it with America now. They've got their competition. The Major League Rugby has been going for a couple of seasons now. And now we're getting in South America as well. So I didn't see anything about what the kind of thing these guys are going to get paid, whether it's just kind of enough to quit their day job for at least 3 months or take a few months leave and work on their rugby or what. And it did mention that obviously it's not only Argentina that's going to be losing their top players. Like some of the top players from these other countries already play professional rugby in other places. So it's not going to be their national teams, and they said they may have to supplement them with players from other places like Namibia, like Portugal, so other guys who are kind of there or thereabouts at that professional level. So that's cool, man. Very good story for the development of rugby union. So yeah, it's very, very nice to see. I mean, a lot of you guys will be like me, old enough to remember back in the days when, Argentina had a top-class national outfit, but they didn't have a professional team domestically. So things are coming a pretty good way. And I mean, with Uruguay's performance at the World Cup as well, I think that should be a good shot in the arm for rugby union in general. But yeah, those are the 3 stories that kind of caught my attention. There were a couple other ones that I thought about talking about, but there's one about a big bloke. Well, he's not a bloke, he's a kid. Got banned from some Australian age group competition. He's like 11 years old and he was too big. He's a really big kid, and they said he's not fit to play in that competition. That was kind of a bit of a sad story, but I'm not sure how much that's been reported correctly because it seems to be trying to take the angle of a tearjerker. So not sure. I did read about it, but it got a little bit convoluted about who'd told who'd submitted applications about whether this kid could play in this age group because he's so much bigger than all the other kids his age. But anyway, and there's one about Israel Folau wanting more money from Rugby Australia because he could have been the Wallabies captain. I don't think he was going to be Wallabies captain with Michael Hooper there. Anyway, John has sent me this package. I will crack this thing open now. Thank you, John, for sending this through. I believe I'm wearing the right shirt for what you've sent, but I will soon find out. to be correct, it's come in a Leinster bag, which seems appropriate. What is this? That looks to be a Leinster flag. Definitely need to get that up on the wall. I need to change the backdrop because I've had that Saracens thing and the Bulls and stuff for ages now. The history of Leinster rugby. 2 DVD box sets. Got Johnny Sexton on the back holding up a trophy, which is something we've seen him do before. I will definitely have to watch that. 4 hours when my kids are asleep, I will watch this. That's pretty cool because I definitely do not know the long-term history. Oh, there's Bod on there as well. Of Leicester, seeing as I've only really started following some of the European competitions since starting the channel, so that's pretty awesome. I am thinking about trying to get some of those old rugby DVDs and whatnot. Oh man, what is this? Whoa, what is this? That is a Leinster jersey with a whole bunch of signatures on it. Oh my lord. Damn man, John, thank you. I will have to find like a frame or something for this. How did you get your hands on this? You will have to tell me that later. That is a hell of a surprise. Oh my god. Thank you, man. That's amazing. I'm trying to read some of these signatures, but I am struggling with that. Wow. That's pretty fantastic, man. Thank you for that. That is, nothing's gonna top that. But wow, amazing. And this is probably what made it feel heavy. Leinster coaster. Toast together. Okay, that's useful. And a Leinster cup, which I will proceed to open. I do have an All Blacks cup. This is only the second rugby cup I will own. They merchandise virtually everything you can imagine All Blacks wise. On Patreon I've been snapping pictures of every other thing about what they put the All Blacks logo on, but a Leinster mug. I will wash this and make myself a cuppa for tomorrow morning. Awesome, man. John, you are far, far too kind, sir. Thank you so much for this, man. Look at that. That's amazing. Blown away, man. Totally blown away. But yeah, as always, guys, nice chat. Let me know your thoughts on these 3 stories. The Mehrtens one, which I think is probably a bit of a headline grabber, but you guys still let me know your thoughts. When I say headline grabber, I'm talking about the media rather than Mehrtens. Semi's moved to Bristol. Seems like a pretty cool one for that team. And the South Americans getting... Oh, I should have mentioned the competition's name is called the Super Liga. So, Super Liga. Pretty cool. So, yeah, very good stuff. Yeah. I should also give a quick shout out to, aside from John for sending through all the gear, all my supporters on Patreon. Do appreciate that support. One of the guys on Patreon suggested I do a video on kind of all the sites that I get all the rugby stats from, so I'm getting that ready as well. I'll probably put it on Patreon first and then let everybody else have a look at some point when, I don't know, maybe when I'm sick and don't have another video to do, I'll keep it in storage, but because that information shouldn't change. It's not going to be kind of like dated by the time the video comes out. But yeah, once again, thank you, John. Thanks guys for watching the vid, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.